our 2026 Call for Curators Programming in Art. So that is our mini grant and fee waiver program, and we run that using a portion of the income that we get from private rentals and rentals that pay us a fee. We take a portion of that and we run this mini grant program for free public events, and it is the main source of how we get public programming in the park. So that's open now, it's a rolling basis, and we've already gotten a lot of applications. So that's my thus far in 2026 updates. Are there any questions before I look back to 2025? Okay, all right, so Kevin, can you pull up the 2025 presentation?
That was all just a 30-day update.
It's been a very busy month, yes. It's been a busy month, and it was a busy year, last year too. So this year we kind of we reimagined our annual report, and we are calling it an impact report this year. So we put this out a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to just sort of quickly walk through the highlights from this report. It's available on our website, it's on the latest news page, and also on the documents page, and I'm just going to touch on the highlights. So the report is broken into a few different sections. The first is where we are. We did get some beautiful new photography for the report. And before we talk about where we are, I think it's helpful to just look back and see kind of how far we've come. So we asked our graphic designer to put together a visual timeline of the buildings that have been completed in the major infrastructure projects in the district. So you can see, a lot of time was spent in the beginning doing all the infrastructure, moving the highway, kind of putting together all the permitting processes. Investment that's completed under construction and plan projects, 2.1 million square feet, and 1,100 housing units. And then our next section is about life sciences. So life sciences has always been a priority of the district. We always have felt like we are really well positioned to be the center of a life science research cluster. And I think significant progress was made on that in 2025. So this image, this is of a worker at the new state labs at 150 Richmond. So obviously that was the biggest milestone, is that we opened that, which also includes the Ocean State Labs incubator. I mentioned that before, and has 3 floors of private lab space. And just looking at the numbers, so that brings us to 275,000 square feet of lab in that building and in this building. And although we hope the number of life science companies is going to increase with the incubator, we're already at 29, which is pretty good for having no kind of shared lab space. Those are currently at CIC. And those 29 companies, Omar and our team did some great research looking into the capital raised by companies here, and it's over $300 million by those 29 life science companies. And then where a neighborhood rises. So we think a lot about economic development, but we also think about kind of knitting back together these neighborhoods that were separated from the highway when we think about developing the former highway land. And part of that is really creating a new neighborhood, sort of adding to the existing neighborhoods and creating a new neighborhood. And a big part of that is housing. So we've made some good milestones there this year, opening Tempo, breaking ground on Tandem, and then selecting the Art and Design Center in a very competitive process for Parcel 5. And I think that's a really dynamic, exciting project that will really add to our mission and to the neighborhood. So just a few numbers. We already noted the housing units. Of those, 162 are workforce or affordable. And then the residential square footage is 1.1 million square feet. All right, and then next, where jobs are created. So we always intended the district to be an economic generator. I think we're really delivering on that. So at 0.25, this building we're in now, there are currently over 250 companies, 62 startups. I mentioned the 29 life science companies. If you look at capital raised by companies in this building across all disciplines, it's over $460 million. So we did review these numbers with our colleagues at CIC, and we're like, is this good or is this not good? And they're like, no, this is good. This is like a number you should be proud of. And then the park. So I think the park has become really a beloved public space in the city. Our team works incredibly hard to activate the park and really bring it to life every day. So just a few milestones in the park. We hosted 309 programs last year. Of those, nearly 200 were funded from that mini grant program I mentioned. We collaborated with 45 unique program producers. Many of those are local, and I think that really contributes to the very authentic programming that we have in the park. We also commissioned 26 new art pieces. And nearly 1.9 million people visited the park last year. We're closing in on 2 million. I know Barrett likes to celebrate milestones. Of those 320 programs, just about 300 were free, open to the public. And we supported about 600 artists, performers, makers, and small businesses, which we're really proud of. And then where we're needed. Excuse me. So obviously bringing Trader Joe's and all the great snacks to Providence, but I think Mark does a really good job of explaining this part of what we're doing when he talks about the district, is that we intentionally, our priorities align with the priorities at the highest levels of the state. So we do things like add housing. We have a housing shortage. We're supporting small businesses. We're supporting life sciences. And then we're finding other ways to kind of fill in the gaps, like launching the ground floor loan program to help activate ground floor spaces. All right, and then finally, where we're going. I like this image because it shows in the background kind of the historic Providence, the historic downtown, the historic east side. In the middle, you have some of the district properties, and then in the foreground, you have the Danoff building at Brown going up. And I think to us, I've always kind of defined success as not just redeveloping the highway land, but really being a catalyst of development beyond our borders. And I think the Danoff building is a great example of that. I think if we were not doing all the things we're doing, they probably would not be making that large investment in that location. And so we had our designers put together a map looking at some of those investments beyond our borders, which I think is a nice visual just to see that kind of catalyzing investment beyond our borders that we've had. All right, so those are just a few highlights. There's lots more in the report. We have some company profiles, partner profiles. I encourage you to check it out. Are there any questions?
Comments?
Comments?
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's exceptionally well done, so thank you for doing that. Anybody have anything? Great.
Of the 150 Richmond, how much of that, how much space is available?
There are 3 floors.
Was available.
There are 3 floors. The floors are about 30,000 square feet each. So about 90,000 square feet.
Great. All right, thank you, Caroline and team. Next item on the agenda is presentation regarding CV Properties applications. I'm not going to read all of the things that are on the agenda. Dick Galvin from CV is here to present. Dick, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. And thank you again for indulging us in our schedule and some of the things we're trying to accomplish to move our project along. My congratulations also to you all and the team for a great 2025. I'll put a quick plug in. We opened 2 new restaurants, Esther's High Dive and Yellow Door Taqueria, as well as we're opening a reimagined Blue Violet this Thursday. So everybody's welcome to check that out, which are all exciting, I think, new milestones as well for the district. So I think we're getting to the end of our long journey for Dyer Wharf. We're thrilled about that. And we're going to move along quickly tonight because I know you guys have a packed agenda. So Jesse Edler from SGA is going to walk you through some of the technical things that we're looking for tonight and our final spin through the design and some of the small changes we've made as we got to this, we hope, final point in the process. So, Jesse.
Great, thanks everyone. I'm going to jump right into it. The first 6 slides we have are the waivers being requested. Waiver 1 deals with the long-term bicycle parking. Because this project lies within the City of Providence and the I-195 District Commission, there are 2 conflicting mandates for what long-term parking should be. So what you're seeing right now is sort of a compromise plan between the 2. Waiver number 2 is short-term bicycle parking. The requirement is that you have to have your short-term parking within 50 feet of a door. Our building is raised up on a resiliency platform, so it's also set back, which gives it a little bit of an disadvantage in meeting that requirement, but we are still providing a variety of short-term parking, both flanking the main entrance and back at the secondary entrance where you have the retail. The third waiver is the loading. So ideally, we put the loading on Peck Street. We don't want to have any loading dock doors or activity directly on Peck Street, so we've been asked to move our loading to the north side of the project, which is sort of off of Peck Street. But that does mean we have to introduce a small loading dock to the project, which we have set back 50 feet. Waiver 4 has to deal with blank facades. Because our building is experienced 360 degrees, there is no back to the building where we like to put our mechanical equipment. We do have mechanical equipment visible to the project, but what you'll see in the red is where we have more of our active programming. So that's our fitness center, amenity, retail, a lounge, which is very glassy, but we do have a certain amount of back of house space which requires solid walls. And we obviously don't want entrances into those spaces either, so we were asking for a waiver on the solid wall and entry requirement. And waiver 5 is the critical systems. We are in our fire pump room and our electrical room. We have 2 deployable flood barriers. In the event of a flooding event, we can deploy those. And waiver 6 is the height of fences and walls. So what you're seeing in the image are 2 screen fences. The one on the left is screening the transformer, and the one on the right is screening our emergency generator. And those are sized basically to cover the equipment. Come to the conclusion that the preference is to cover the equipment rather than meeting the height of the fence, so the stuff doesn't poke out the top. So now I'm going to jump into the project updates. This is the site plan, and really the only update is our building footprint shrunk about 130 square feet. And this is the ground floor plan. And as we go through this presentation, most of what you're going to see in the terms of the updates are really just the evolution of the architecture and design process. It's coordinating mechanical systems, coordinating structural systems, refining our unit layouts, and refining our ground floor layout. So what you'll see is a slightly different layout from last time, but essentially it is the same, where we have the same amount of purple space, which is amenity programmed to the building. Yellow is our lobby, retail is the left, and the gray is the mechanical back of house space. Our building grew slightly over the evolution of the project, about 2,000 square feet, and our unit count stayed the same. And these next slides just give you a flavor of what the residential floor plates look like. So on the south, we typically have, that's facing Peck Street and the river, we have our 1-bedrooms. And on the interior of the building, we have our studio apartments. And we have 2 bedrooms in the more important corners and at the bend of the building. See those going up. And I will point out on level 10, we still have a great amenity space, which is expressed in the exterior of the building. So you'll see that those folks on the building will have a great view across the Providence River. And we included these next 2 slides to remind everyone that this project is a phase 1, and while it's constructed, it'll be standing alone by itself for some time, but there is a greater vision to the site. This might not be it, but it is to indicate that there would be more happening around it, creating different spaces, opportunities for different construction. And the next portion of the presentation is this format where we compare what was presented almost a year ago in February to where we are now. And again, there isn't a lot of large changes to the project. It's very small. So we still kept the design intent. So for instance, on the upper volume, we still have our dynamic shifting windows. But what's changed is where we have that accent panel, which is really just where our mechanical system ventilates through the exterior of the building. So the design intent is still there, it's just how we refine the design. This is the view of the southeast corner of the project from 195 Park. You can see a little bit of what I'm talking about on the bottom, where the bottom mass of the building facing the park. We've sort of refined the windows a little bit. We've given them a little bit more movement. And again, that's just sort of the refining of the process. This is a view of the southwest corner. You can see again the difference in the composition of windows. We've looked at a little bit of a darker window and a darker metal panel, so that's a nice dark bronze, which we think works well with the two different colors of brick. And this is the view of the northeast elevation along Peck Street, which is in the foreground. And again, you can see some of the subtle differences in how we treated the windows on the upper volume. This is a close-up view of what we think could be a great retail restaurant experience right on the park. At some point, we looked at doing a sort of a faux wood material as maybe a third material to the building, and then eventually through the process, we decided that introducing that faux wood might not be the best look, and let's keep it consistent. So we did change, we eliminated the faux wood, and we just went with a consistent bronze color throughout the project. And this is a view, these are two views looking at the west side of the project, so that interior courtyard. And the evolution of this really came out of the how we thought about the ground floor and how we actually started laying out those spaces. And those spaces began to influence the exterior of the building. So we're placing more of our mechanical spaces, our fire command centers. You get a little bit more of a solid wall expression, but it's still that great brick material and that corrugated pattern, so it'll have that great texture to it. We thought too that the entry experience on the courtyard side was perhaps a little too grand for what it was. We still have this great canopy, this great expression on Dyer Wharf where we have our main entrance, but on the courtyard we thought something a little bit more modest would be more appropriate for the folks in the building utilizing that entrance. It's still expressed as an entrance, but it's really just an evolution of how we thought about this courtyard would be used. This slide shows the mechanical penthouse design, and the blue line is where we're placing the mechanical penthouse, fully enclosing all of the mechanical equipment. The materiality is a corrugated metal panel to match the rest of the building. The left is where we've envisioned our material palette, and on the right, after we've got the actual materials in, we've taken a picture and put that in the slideshow, so it's really the same flavor, same pattern, same texture, same colors. These last slides illustrate the public realm. So again, this is a section right across from the I-195 Park, looking into that retail space with the canopy, showing that engagement still happening. This is a section through Peck Street, through some of that activation on the sidewalk where we're cutting in, creating some seating moments, right where our planting buffers the building. You can see that our building is raised up a few feet, and how we use the landscape to create a buffer zone and a transition between the public realm and our building. And a similar strategy on the courtyard side where we have a much more gentle landscape transition to make up that great difference. And our last slide is just a sampling of the material palette from the landscape, showing a variety of plants, shrubs, trees, and materiality used in the landscape and hardscape of the project.
Does anybody have any questions? Very comprehensive, thank you, but you also did it pretty quickly. Dick, is there anything else you want to say?
No, I just, again, want to thank the commission, Caroline, staff, everybody, Tim, stakeholders in the neighborhood working with us closely to get to where we are. This exact design you're seeing here is virtually 100% done. It's being priced, and we'll, so all the work we've done to try to get this to a point of being doable, we're very far along and feel pretty good about it.
And can you just articulate for the whole commission where you are with the city?
I think we just had a staff meeting with the city
Staff review.
to finalize this, and so yeah, I would say we're pretty much virtually done with all other state agencies, right? Is there anything left?
All permits have been applied for and pre-vetted, so we're in good shape. All risk.
Professional as we'd expect. Excellent. Okay, so anybody have any questions for Dick? Oh,
Dick, when do you anticipate a groundbreaking?
Again, we're really hoping to get it done in the May timeframe. Keep going, because we really want to hit the summer of 28.
Anything else? Okay, great. All right, so next we're going to hear from UTL. Zoe, I think you're going to present, right? Yep. Appreciate it.
Evening. I will be very quick, especially because we had a great presentation to go through a lot of what I'm going to speak to. So briefly, we recommend approval, including the waivers that they went through. And I'll give a brief overview of why that is, not for every individual one, but in aggregate. And we have just one remaining condition, which is really just a sort of supplemental documentation request. So I'll just mention that at the end. So the reason we suggest approval of all these waivers is because this site has several unique conditions, both in terms of the processes that they're going through as well as the conditions of the site. You heard them mention it is a 360-degree design. There isn't really a back. And then it is also joint jurisdiction between the city and the district, so they're navigating two sets of rules. The parcel itself is quite dimensionally constrained, and then on top of that, they are dealing with the elevation of that platform to meet our design flood elevations that were set to accommodate riverine and tidal flooding. So that means they are dealing with several things that make this very unique relative to the general conditions we're regulating for. So for all those reasons, the set of waivers that were presented, we're recommending approval of all of those waivers. And then the only remaining condition we're recommending is that they submit an additional documentation to just more clearly represent some of the aspects of the design flood elevation 2, which is our critical systems protection against more catastrophic flooding. They have done an admirable job of collaborating with us and being very transparent in their process. So that's just kind of the last thing to check off to make sure we have a strong mutual understanding of the solution that's being put forward. So with that, happy to take any questions and turn back to you.
Yeah, just one question, the transparency waiver, that was presented sort of in plan form as opposed to elevation. How far off are we from the requirement?
So the requirement is really intended to activate, to sort of ensure transparency is activating the street frontage, and that's why it's a little bit funky the way it's applied for this building, because the street frontage versus the, is kind of in 360. So a lot of those typically would not be directly regulated by this standard because they would be in the rear of the building, not facing a street. So all of the areas that were outlined on that diagram that are in red or yellow, those are already meeting the standards. The back of house area is the area that's not meeting the standard for transparency. So in our view, it's really meeting the spirit of what that regulation is for. It's just that a portion of the building that's back of house is included in that calculation by default because of the unique siting of the building. I'm not sure that exactly answers your question.
Yeah, I understand. We're sort of treating it as if it were the back, maybe. But if it were the front, how far off would it be?
I don't know the number offhand, but I can do a quick check.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, thank you, Zoe.
Yeah.
If you can do a quick check, just let us know if you can.
Yeah, will do.
Okay, next we're opening up for public comment. Only one person is signed up. Sharon?
Not for this.
Not for this? Okay. Oh, that's not, you're on the CV list.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Okay, so any discussion? Anybody have any concerns or questions or anything they'd like to say in terms of all of the applications we've just made for CV? Pretty straightforward. All right, so then we have two different resolutions. So the first resolution, and all of these have been distributed already, so I'm not going to read all of the whereas clauses. The first is the resolution regarding the final plan approval for a proposed project on parcels 14 and 15. Voted that the commission approves the final plan for the proposed project as submitted and hereby issues final plan approval to CV and subject to A, satisfaction by CV of the conditions set forth in the UTL letter, B, review and approval of final plans for the proposed project to ensure conformity with the final plan, and C, receipt of a construction management plan satisfactory to the commission. Each of the chairperson and executive director in his or her individual capacity be and hereby is authorized to execute and deliver to CV or its nominee a certificate of final plan approval in accordance with the provisions of the development plan. Can I please have a motion? Thank you,
Second.
Baron. Second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? You're abstaining. Thank you, Sandra. Okay. And then the second resolution is regarding approval of the waivers for parcels 14 and 15. Again, this has been distributed, so I'm not going to read it all. Resolved that the district hereby...
Sorry, can we redo that vote? Right, abstain.
You're abstaining as well? Okay, so let's go back. So can I have a motion to approve the first resolution?
Motion.
Thank you, Vin. Seconded by Mindy. All those in favor? Aye. No one opposes, and we're noting that both Sandra and Barrett are abstaining. Okay, so that is carried. The second resolution on the waivers, that the district hereby, A, finds that due to the challenging site configuration and dimensions, enforcement of the regulations for commercial and residential use contained in the development plan would preclude the full enjoyment by the owner of a permitted use and amount to more than a mere inconvenience. B, adopts the recommendations contained in the UTIL letter with respect to the waivers, and C, grants the waivers. Anybody have any questions or discussions? No? So can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Vin. Second by Mindy. All those in favor? Aye. I take it you two are both abstaining? No one's opposed. Okay, so that passes as well. Excellent. All right, so now the next item is on demolition permit fees, and I will turn that over to you, Karen.
Okay, so this applies to projects that have split jurisdiction. So like the project we just heard, where the project is partially on I-195 land and partially on land that would be in the city jurisdiction. So we have different permitting regimes and fee schedules than the city. So the state reviews our permits, the city reviews their own permits. The building inspectors have decided that for projects like this, the state building inspector will review the projects, and the fee schedule that will apply will be the district's fee schedule. So we do not have a demolition fee schedule because we don't have any buildings on our land, but in these situations like the project you just heard about, we have another one that's also on 34 in the land swap that this applies to. It has come up that they don't know what demolition fee to charge because we don't have a fee schedule. So we are proposing that the commission just adopts the same fee schedule as the city to make it easy. It's not very much, it's like $100 or something, it's a very little, small fee. And we do have to pay the city half of what they would have collected under the statute. So this is really sort of a housekeeping item, but we do have to have a public hearing on it by law. So any questions on what you're voting on? Yeah, I know.
You gotta follow the law. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve? Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Great, passes. Okay, next item on the agenda
There was a
is,
public hearing. Nobody had a comment.
oh, I'm so sorry. Does anybody have a comment? Great, thank you. Okay, the next item is the 2025 Park Strategic Plan recommendations.
Okay, so in this vote, we are asking the commission to accept the park strategic plan recommendations that were presented by Agora, our consultant, in November. So I just wanted to note a few things before you consider this vote. One was that we did hear some comments from members of the public in opposition to large amplified sound events that happen in the park. And I did just want to clarify that these events only happen on a very small number of days. I think it was 4 weekends last year, the park team told me, and we do not have any intention of significantly increasing the number of similar events in the future. And I did want to note that we are implementing a change for this coming programming season, which previously we had allowed amplified sound in these large events not in a tent to 10 p.m. And we are going to roll that back to 9 p.m., which is consistent with what the city allows in public parks elsewhere in the city. So are there any questions about this vote?
Nobody has any questions or comments? So we'll open it up for public comment. Sharon, this is what you had signed up for? Oh,
Hello? Yes? No? Yes?
go ahead. Just trying to keep it brief.
Oh, you know I will. Okay, good evening, everyone. So I made it very clear, speaking for the Jewelry District Our position is there should be no large events, literally at the park. Agora's report basically says, keep it to small events. As these things come before the City Services Committee, the, shall we say, proposers come with the assumption that they are going to be approved. I am here to say that the police share our views with respect to this. There are currently no police detail fees. That will certainly change if this is pursued. And that it doesn't matter how early they are ending. It matters that the sound is so powerful that it literally makes your heart feel like it's jumping out of your chest. We have a building at 3 Ship Street. In that building is an immunocompromised owner of a condo who only leaves the building literally by ambulance to go to the doctor or the hospital. We are a tight-knit community, and there are plenty of opportunities to have very successful small events. Where the stage is, how it is positioned, all of this makes an enormous difference. I am here to say that for our purposes, since you are smack in the middle of our neighborhood, we would very much appreciate it that you would honor our requests. And please understand that we will be attending all of those city services meetings as we have in the past, and we'll be making our position clearly known. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, and sorry about the confusion on whether we were taking public comment or not. Since we did, is there anybody else who has public comment? I just don't want to foreclose anybody. Okay, thank you, Sharon. We appreciate it. We're very sensitive to the concerns of the neighborhood. It's a real tricky balance in trying to thread the needle of supporting the neighborhood, trying to build what we're trying to build, driving economic development, and having the kind of experience we want for the city. And our default position, generally speaking, is we try and defer and follow the lead of the city on all things related to the experience within the city. So I think we'll continue to do that. Of course, you should attend the meetings, and whatever guidance we get, we will follow. So thank you, Sharon. Okay, with that, anybody else have any other comments or changes? Can I get a motion to approve the 2025 strategic plan recommendations? Mindy? Second, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. Next is the district personnel plan.
I think we skipped over the meeting calendar, but that's posted on the website and there's no vote on that.
Let me make one more comment on that. Just to reiterate what I said earlier, we will try and periodically update that calendar if we know we're putting in a special meeting like we did tonight, so people get earlier advance notice. And so everyone should have those dates for 2026 now. Thank you.
Could I make a request about those dates?
Sure.
I think as in the past, could we set the Google Calendar invites all at once?
Sure, I think we send them as Outlook invites, but we can send them as Google. Did you, yeah.
However you got them, yeah.
We'll follow up with you on that.
That'd be great.
Okay, next item, some changes we want to make to the personnel plan. The biggest change is really around the organization of our park team, and this is in line with recommendations from the strategic planning process we went through. It's really just a streamlined park organization. No new hires, we're just sort of tweaking existing positions and changing the titles. So we'll have a park director instead of a park manager, we'll have a programming manager instead of an assistant park manager, and we're giving a range for the part-time salary. I think those are the biggest changes, and little tweaks to other things. Any questions on that? Sure.
Why do we need the board vote on that?
Chip? I think our,
We don't, we've just done it.
Oh,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
Maybe we could stop that.
No, listen, we've done it, no reason to go less transparent, right? But it was an excellent question. You're obviously involved in a number of different boards. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the plan? Thank you, Barrett. Second by Senator. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the matter's approved. And on that, the next item of the agenda, I have to recuse myself, so I am going to step out, and Barry, you're gonna take over and run the meeting from here?
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody. Don't stay too late.
Sure. All right, so just before we get into the presentations on Parcel A, I just want to give a quick little background, which is that We're hearing from two development teams tonight, and it is a little bit outside of our normal process, but these two teams have expressed, I would say, consistent interest in these parcels over the past year, and so we've invited them to present the proposals tonight. I will say, that we do have a vote after executive session, but it's on the agenda doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to take that vote, but we do have it on the agenda in case the commission wants to take that vote.
Great, thank you for the background. And I guess the next thing up is the presentation by Churchill and Banks.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Heemond. I'm here on behalf of Churchill and Banks this evening to introduce our presentation for Parcels 8 and Parcel 8A. Churchill and Banks, as many of you know, is a development organization in our city with a track record that needs little introduction. For almost 50 years, they've been developing real estate, commercial real estate, residential properties across the state of Rhode Island. Richard Bakari, the second, is here today, who is the principal of that firm. He's been there since 1999. They are already very heavily invested in this area of the city of Providence, particularly because they have developed two parcels now consolidated over at 580 South Water Street that are immediately abutting the presentation that you will see today. So they've been trying to acquire and develop this for many years, including back, I think, in 2022, when they were not awarded a bid for development here, to fold it into what they've already done in the units that they've already built. Tonight, you'll hear from Mr. Bakari, Mr. Zwena, who will present to you a project they've come up with. But first, we'll start with Mr. Bakari, an introduction to what they have in mind for these two parcels.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us tonight. As Nick said, you stole a little bit of my introduction, so I'll try not to reiterate. But my name is Richard Bakari. Thanks for the time tonight to present our vision for Parcel 8 and 8A. I'm a resident of the East Side. My office is located downtown at 10 Green Street, Providence. My company has been in the development business for about 50 years. We have been headquartered in Providence almost the whole time. We worked on numerous successful projects in the past, from the redevelopment of Garden City many years ago to the Coral Center redevelopment in the Jewelry District here in Providence. We built hundreds and hundreds of homes and condos throughout the state, and even built some of the garages at TF Green Airport. Over the past 10 years, our focus has turned to the multifamily development process, mainly the redevelopment of complicated, abandoned land sites and mills, often needing redevelopment, environmental cleanup to make them possible. Developments such as Kettle Point and East Point in East Providence and 580 South Water Street, which is adjacent to Parcel 8, are prime examples of our ability to transform blighted sites into highly successful residential projects. As the owner of 580 South Water Street, which is a 69-unit apartment complex, I've been focused on the 195 land for many years. Focus is an important word. Tonight, my focus and the Commission's focus is to build on Parcel 8 quickly and responsibly. The district, like many other redevelopment districts, is very challenging. The challenges really lies in the financial returns that are needed to make these projects in the 195 district feasible to attract equity. The high cost of construction, coupled with higher than optimal interest rates since the pandemic, have created a difficult economic environment for any new development. My focus is magnified because I have a very advantageous HUD financing that is only available to me through my existing HUD loan at 580 South Water Street. The HUD Section 241A loan program was created by HUD to attract and incentivize developers to increase or add to an existing apartment complex to create additional housing supply around the country. It is only available to developers that already have a HUD mortgage. HUD allows for very attractive loan terms at 90% loan to cost, low interest rates, and 40-year loan amortization, which help make these projects financially attractive. The total project cost will be roughly $30 million and will create 180 jobs. Historically, the 195 Commission, through its planners, have outlined the parcel 8 should be roughly 100 units. I am limited to 79 units under this loan program, which states that the additional loan can only be built up to 115% of the existing amount of units in the existing loan, which comes up to 79. We have attempted to create a project with over 100 units with 2 different capital stacks. However, the complication of additional parking and its associated costs and the additional equity required created a deal structure that was overly complicated and created insufficient returns. So we have focused on what we can do. We know that we can build 79 units. The demand is strong, the parking works, the financing is great, and we're ready to go. We can start construction in less than 12 months and be open within 14 months thereafter. I'm so confident that I'm willing to put up some non-refundable money throughout this 195 purchase and sale agreement as we move through the project design and approvals. I'll turn it over to Eric now, and Eric Zwena from DDS, and he can go over the design itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, members of the commission, for the opportunity. It's good to see you. A little serendipitous here that back in front of you on this parcel, because we have, ZDS has had the opportunity to present this parcel with Churchill and Banks before. We've also had the opportunity to build 580 South Water, which was a project that wasn't regulated by the commission, but it was a project that came to the commission for review. It was one of the first parcels that, one of ZDS's first opportunity to be in front of it. Since this project, we've been engaged and got to execute parcel 28, parcel 6, and we've been involved in other opportunities, but parcel 6 and parcel 28 are 2 that we're really excited that were built and operating. Churchill and Banks does a great job. This is a great market rate product that we have right next door. And the concept here is an expansion of that, what I would consider a residential campus. So creatively speaking, from an architectural standpoint, the proposal here is not something new. It's actually just an extension of what's happening at 580 South Water. But I'll still walk you through it. CDS has other projects that we've done, the Beatrice Hotel, Homewood Suites, another project that we're working with Churchill and Banks now on, just to show the tenacity of the development team, but also the relationship and the collaborative work that we do with Churchill and Banks. East Point is a project mentioned by Mr. McCarty, but is under construction at this time. Moving very quickly, 128 units, thank you, Richard. So just some reference points. Parcel 28, which I mentioned, and let me get through this. So we also have an office in Washington, D.C. We do architecture and interiors. We were founded in Providence in 2010, just celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. We're about 42 people between the 2 offices. So we all know the parcel that we're referencing, and you guys have seen this map many, many times. My point is working. Yeah, it is parcel 8A. This is just showing walking radius maps and other highlights of the area. We are on the City Walk, which is really exciting for us. The connectivity between downtown Providence and Fox Point is something we spent a lot of time thinking about, not only on this project, but when we did 580 South Water 4 years back. That project was just a note that project was actually finished during COVID, which is another example of collaboration and our ability to execute. This is just a quick massing model showing some of the highlights of the adjacent parcels and some of the activity that's happened. Thanks to this commission, all the hard work that you guys have done, you know, we think that this parcel is a real exciting opportunity for us. So thank you. We also are excited about the reconfiguration of the off-ramp of 195, making that a traffic lit intersection someday. We think will only better that condition and traffic moving off the highway into downtown. We think it's a great way to slow things down quite a bit. So here is the new building that we're speaking of, just to keep everyone oriented, 580 South Water, phase 1 up here. We're talking about phase 2 here, parcel 6 right to our right. The footprint is just shy of 20,000 square feet. The overall building gross square footage is 93,550 square feet. It's a 5-story building, predominantly, with the north side being a 4-story with a rooftop amenity, which you'll see in a second. First floor, the slope of the site moves down towards the south. So we're taking advantage of that, putting our amenities, lobby, entrance, and some of our more activated spaces towards the north, and allowing us to put further amenities and residential units towards the south. Building materials, all the same building materials that are on 580 South Water Phase 1 would be here, but it is a combination of standing seam metal, which is a more contemporized mansard strategy with brick veneer and porcelain tile on the base with some cement panel on the upper floors. This is just a breakdown of the program, square footage for each, and milestones. I'll focus on the last box there, which is just explaining the mix of these 79 units. So we have a total of 10 studios, 34 one-bedrooms, and 35 two-bedrooms. And you can see those are average square footages to the right, but we would consider these relatively gracious considering other urban residential product that we have in the city today. Just getting into a little bit more detail with the floor plan, so showing drop-off area on the front face of the building, rather large 2,700 square foot lobby and lounge experience with a combination of other amenities and office leasing spaces to the right, which is the blue. To the left, we have more our residential units that carry the corner. And remember, this slope is going down. So much like we did at 580 South Water, we have residences on the ground floor. And those are successful because we raised the first story grade, and we sort of buffered that area with some minor landscaping. But by raising that first floor elevation, we allow people to comfortably walk the sidewalks without looking directly into bedrooms and bathrooms. And that was a real successful move, I think, we did there. And this site, just as it stands today, allows us to do something very similar. Typical floor plan, the bottom 2 through 4, just showing a mix of, again, one-bedroom studios and 2 bedrooms. And then on the 5th floor, you'll see on the north side, we have our roof deck. That roof deck is a little bit different than how we've looked at exterior spaces in the past, especially next door. We want to celebrate the view towards downtown, and we also want to make sure we're shielding that space from highway noise. So we intentionally put this rooftop experience on the north side. This would look directly over Parcel 6 comfortably into our beautiful downtown skyline. And this is just a quick rendering. We didn't have a lot of time to develop design, but again, we did have a little head start because of the architecture we have next door. So it is a carryover, mostly. What we think this building should look like. We intentionally want to extend the design aesthetic here as we did next door and make this a really, really special market rate residential campus. This is I believe, our last slide. And without further ado, I don't know if I can open this up for questions or if whatever, I just want to follow the process for you folks and the commission.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Other questions from the commission?
I have a question. Looking at the rendering, it looks like the north portion is podium construction.
No, this would be very minimal podium. It's 5-story wood construction.
So it's all stick built?
Yeah, it's exactly the way we did 580 South Water 2. There were some small cantilevers next door where we had to come over some parking areas, but we're trying to avoid that too in this design. So this is a slab on grade, 5 stories wood construction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Eric. I don't know if this question is for you or for Rich or Nick. Project budget-wise, sources of financing, is this entirely privately financed or are there other sources?
I'll let Richard speak to that.
Yeah. So yes, totally privately funded. The HUD loan really makes this a much more attractive project for anybody. The fact that they're willing to loan a 90% loan to cost is very unusual, as I'm sure the board is aware. Typically, it's 70, 75% max loan to cost. So the ability for us to obtain that loan relatively quickly, I mean, there is a HUD process, but because we already own the site next door, we've already somewhat of the way through that. And the remaining equity we would put in it has to be the same ownership partnership as the piece next door that we already own. So we're prepared to put it's a $30 million total project, so $3 million in equity.
Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
Hi, thanks. I'm just curious, if the HUD loan wasn't there, is this the sort of design and density that you might imagine for the site?
Yeah, it's very close. I mean, I think the difficulty is we were trying to get to 100 units or more. And the complication, as I outlined, was we're limited to 79 units per the existing loan facility that we have. If you were able to do more with the HUD loan, we certainly would be willing to do that. I'll point out, though, that the square footage, because this building is roughly 93,000 square feet, the units are a good size. So, we could, theoretically, if there was no limitation on the amount of units via HUD, we could create 110 units that were smaller with a lot more studios, that were more efficient, whereas this doesn't really lend itself to that. So we're kind of going with the same model that we have, basically a splits of 1 beds and 2 beds, which is what the market really demands in this area, and 10 studios just to have some sprinkled in. But like I said, we could build 120, 130 here relatively easily in the same structure generally,
Right.
same height, same dimensions.
I was thinking more like elevated.
Well, we tried to do that in 2022, and
Right.
going higher, it has its challenges, and I think you guys have run into that, with Mr. Durham's project and the timing of the financing. The higher you go, the more complicated the construction is, the additional parking that's required, that certainly just kind of snowballs, and all of a sudden, the returns don't work like you thought they would. Even though you said, well, you should build 200 units to make it better. It's hard to make it better because the costs go up exponentially.
I understand,
Thanks.
And maybe just to give us a sense of scale, how does this compare in size to 570 Southway?
580 is the same, so
580.
same height, for the majority of the site would be exactly the same height as you're looking at it from the highway, other than the four-story on the corner. And we dropped that down just so that we would have some protection on that rooftop, because we have a deck on the other side, on the water side, and 580, and it's, you get a nice wind burn from the traffic, so we decided to move it on this side.
Any other questions?
We'll be a little higher.
Yeah, less than 10 feet higher than the 580 subfloor.
Great, thank you. Okay, yeah, I think we're all set.
All right, thank you.
And now I'd like to invite the principals from Marathon Construction Development to present.
Good evening, members of the Commission. My name is Harry Engemine, CEO of Marathon Construction and Development. And I have with me my son, who is the CFO, Franklin Engemine.
Thank you, members of the Commission.
So we're here to present tonight on Parcels 8 and 8A. I'd like to start off telling you a little bit about ourselves. We've been building the city for about 30 years. We relocated our business down here in 2001. We're in the city for a good 14 years, went back to Boston for a period of time, and we're back in the city again this time around. Really focusing on multifamily housing and the issues that everybody hears about as to affordability and the missing middle, all those sorts of things. So over the last 5 or 6 years, in conjunction with working with the city and ERA, various other departments, we've developed over 500 units of affordable housing. Our first of which just recently received National Register of Historical Places nomination and award after the first of the year. It was a 26-unit apartment building that was a rooming house at the turn of the century up on Broad Street. where we house kids that have aged out of foster care. They didn't have a place to go. Frank and I put our heads together and brought in Providence Community Health, Adoption Rhode Island, and House of Hope to help us provide services to these kids that basically were getting tossed out on the street after they met the age of 18. Seeing this success and learning more about the need of the city for Rhode Island housing, we immediately turned our attention from all the other work that we were doing and said, this is going to be our mission going forward. And over those last 6 years, we're on our 5th project, 178 units, 6-story building in the hospital district that's coming online 13 months after breaking ground. And as of this date, we have about a waiting list of 250 families. In our particular projects, we really focus on families more so than studios and 1-bedrooms and those sorts of things. And we find that that's really the need in the community more than anything else. So turning our attention to the project over at Parcel 8 and 8A, you can skip over the developments in the neighborhood portion. The proposed development that we're looking at is 136 units, very similar in nature to the building configuration that we've done on all 4 ground-up projects so far. 6 stories, total project cost of $48 million, about 6,500 square feet of retail. That retail will be facing Wickenden Street, very architecturally similar in nature to our other facilities. And I think that the building configuration in this one is really all about the 1-bedrooms and the 2-bedrooms. So I believe out of that we have
109 ones and 27 twos. And of those units, we're really looking to increase the amount of affordable housing in the district. We're doing what's called an 80-20 deal, so we're reserving 20% of the units at 50% AMI, so really serving that population that is extremely rent burdened in the city. Furthermore, we're restricting 31 units to 15% below market rate. The financing that we're working with on this through Chase, they don't require a income restriction, they require just a discount to market. We find it's more flexible. There's problems with the LIHTC program, whereas if you make 1% more than area median income that you're allowed to, you're out of the unit. So this will allow for maximum flexibility for the workers that are in the city. So 31% of those units for really teachers, firefighters, thinking residents over in the hospital district, et cetera. And then the balance of the units would be unrestricted at unrestricted.
Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit about the capital stack.
So we're thinking that the capital stack is going to be a Freddie Mac TEL loan along with 4% credits. Being in the district, it's classified as a difficult to develop area, so you get a basis boost, you get 30% more credits, so we think that really helps close the gap here in this situation. We've also been in talks with plenty of CDFIs who would come in and provide a mezzanine loan to close the rest of the gap, so we're pretty confident that we can get this done without requesting soft sources from the state. We're really thinking that this is a product that can work well going forward across the state to really start to solve the housing crisis. And I think given the past couple of developments that we've done, we have high confidence in this capital stack because it's all the same players we've been working with.
And to that end about the state, the whole genesis of the idea of the unit mix in this building was really brought about by ongoing discussions with the Executive Office of Housing and that missing middle that everybody talks about. So we're really turning our attention to from 100% affordability, which is in the other 500 units within the city, and what we really see as a need in this particular neighborhood. To touch on the development team, Marathon Development is the lead developer on the project. Marathon Construction, construction company that's been working in the city, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, for the last 30 years. And what that benefit brings is really the vertical integration. All of our projects are built steel construction, panelized. One interesting fact is 99% of the subcontractors are Rhode Island based. Relationships that span 2 to 2.5 decades. And what we like about this particular model is, rather than going the wood route, you don't have to worry about drying out buildings, mold issues that become latent problems, all these sorts of things. And to turn our attention to, the development and construction timeline, by this panelized system, you get 2 benefits. One, we can erect through the winter and so forth. We just built 178 units in 13 months. We're thinking in this particular project, because of the below-grade parking that we'll talk about a little bit later in the process, that we could turn this around in about 14 months. Branch Architects, woman-owned architectural firm, the only architect group that we use in the city. VHB, who has years of experience working with us as well as the city, and Sousa True, our structural engineer. All team members that have been with us for the last 2.5 decades, with the exception of Branch, who just started a business about 6 years ago. Talking about milestone schedules and timelines, I think this is important to note, that we feel that the development of drawings, all the necessary CPC approvals if need be, we would meet with the city as if this was a total city project anyway, have those collaborative meetings, and we think the preliminary discussions that we've had with JP Morgan Chase and our other partners in this, that we feel we could close certainly first quarter of 2027 on the construction financing and have this up and running by the first quarter of 2028. A little bit about the site plan, and you'll have to excuse, it's truly a concept at this point. Given the short timeline that we were giving, thank you, Caroline, of 2 weeks, this is the best that we could do on short notice. But retail at the top of the page, 134 units, some parking on surface, but the majority of the parking will be below grade. So as to really have an opportunity to landscape more than you normally would, having to use as much surface parking area as possible. And I think, questions?
Are there questions from the commissioners?
Thanks for putting it together so fast. Do you anticipate, I didn't see it on your timeline, you might have missed it. Do you anticipate going to the city for any sort of tax stabilization on this project?
I think we were just gonna utilize the district tax stabilization agreement.
Beat me to it, Frank.
Hi, Harry and Frank. Thank you for the presentation.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. The 4% line tech credits, have you begun dialogue with Rhode Island Housing and the executive office, and can you describe how that is going?
Well, they're very excited about what we're currently doing. There's other 2 projects in the hospital district that are in Marathon's pipeline right now. But I think it's just the 4%, we can sort of submit out of sequence, so that's why we're really targeting that timeline. And we're very excited about it. We've talked to our design development folks on structural, architectural. They're ready to sort of wipe the slate clean and jump right on this. We get the way they do
On the architectural, can you just, you may have said this, forgive me, who will your design firm be?
Virginia Branch Architects. She's done the last 5 buildings for us.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate there was very little time to develop the design, but do you mind going back to the plan? Sorry, not the elevation, but just the top-down plan.
Sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you don't need that much surface area for parking. What do you imagine happening with the rest of that parcel? because you're occupying, what percentage of the parcel are you occupying with the building, right?
The section that's in the light brown is the building. Green is all gonna be landscaping and lawn area. And the parking lot is the darker brown. So the service area that's in the very dark brown and the entrances to the below grade parking is at the top of this, sort of the middle point of the building.
And can you remind us of the total square footage?
It's about 115,000 square feet.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, it is time for public comment. We have two folks signed up. Anthony Cherry.
Good evening, Commission. I did not have time to send this. I usually try to send it electronically earlier, but I do have written comment from President Sabatoni from Building Trades. Good evening. My name is Anthony Cherry. I'm Assistant Executive Director at Build-RI with the Labor Management Coalition that advocates for the unionized construction industry. We're here not advocating for against or for any particular project. We are advocating today for the Commission to implement a responsible contracting policy. A responsible contracting policy ensures that it creates a level playing field for all contractors that are bidding on the project and potential developers as well. Prevent exploitation of trade workers and protects the investments of this Commission and the mission that it serves. We feel this policy is unfortunately necessary now because the parcels that have been developed and currently are in development have engaged in wage theft and misclassification. JS Interiors over on Parcel 9, Phase 1, was found in violation of wage theft and misclassification. This is their fourth offense. They're one of the reasons why we literally have wage theft as a felony. They were habitual abusers of the ordinance in violation at Capitol Cove over by the train station. During Phase 2, there's a complaint against that's currently under investigation for Olympic painting and siding. They have a federal a violation of wage theft and misclassification. As you can imagine, it's very hard to do, is get a federal a violation against them. So what a responsible contract does is it bars them from building on these projects. We feel that it serves the mission of this Commission. We ask that this policy is not only implemented, but also reflects the policy in which is under the province TSA. We were strong proponents of that, and not only ensures that properly licensed contractors are utilized, but community sourcing of workers, and also apprenticeship threshold as well, and prevailing wages is utilized as well. We ask that this Commission table this vote until proper review of and implementation of the policy is conducted and a proper RFP is conducted as well. And I'll answer any questions. And I have a copy of, I'll give it to the clerk of the properties ordinance as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just curious, what's precipitating this now?
So it's just the recent Parcel 9. The sins, unfortunately, the sins of one is affecting the other. So I can't speak to a Marathon and or Churchill. But it is just the timing.
Anthony, thanks for your presentation. The responsible contractor policy that you described, can you explain where else in the country that's been utilized or where else in Rhode Island?
I know Greg Mancini probably answered that best. He's following up on me. He's I want to say expert on it. So
Don't say that.
So yeah, I think Greg would be a better way to reference that.
We'll talk with Greg.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you for the help.
Thank you.
Pretty good.
Anthony did a good job of opposition. I really don't have much to add other than to say that the jobs that have been created from these developments are really only construction jobs. And, I think the purpose of one of the main purposes of the commission is to create economic development for the state of Rhode Island. I heard one of the presenters talk about building responsibly. This would be building responsibly. I heard the other one talk about affordable housing. We believe that housing is not affordable because living wages are not paid in many instances, and this is an opportunity for you to do so. In terms of your question, Mr. Pryor, there is first of all, City of Providence has a pretty extensive TSA ordinance, and I know that one of the developers said they would apply for it. I don't know why you should carve out a particular area of the city that doesn't have it and one that does have it. I knew why initially it occurred, but I still don't know why we maintain that. I think that there's many cities around the country, particularly on the West Coast, that have these type of ordinances. I certainly can get you a list. I know San Diego does, Los Angeles does, Oregon, I think the entire state does, the city of Boston does, Philadelphia does, and I hope that answers your question.
It does.
And then if anyone has any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Okay, close the public comment session, and we're going to go into executive session. So, to consider and act upon such matters that may be considered. I think this is the script for we'll go next. To consider such matters may be considered at a meeting closed to the public pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-5 of the Meetings Law, and 42-64-14-6, I, the 195 Act, specifically matters relating to the purchase, sale, exchange, lease, or value of district real estate, where the discussion of the meeting would have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Commission with the other parties to the negotiations. Motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. There we go. Minutes of the closed session shall not be made available to the public, except as portions of such minutes as the Commission ratifies and reports in the public session of this meeting, until disclosure would no longer jeopardize the Commission's negotiating position.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I can report out after a long discussion that the commissioners have collectively decided that we don't feel we have enough information to make a decision tonight, and that we're going to be requesting more information. And at the same time, we're going to be opening this up to invite other developers. And this is not a reflection on either of the proposals. We consider both of them to be strong from the information we have, but we don't have enough information to choose one tonight, and we want to use additional time to open it up to other developers. So, any comments anyone wants to make on this? Okay. Thank everyone for their participation. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.